Good evening, and welcome to Five Guys, Movies and Fries, where a quad of guys talk about flicks because we just like watching them. Welcome to the cast. I've recommended 1995's Dead Man from Jim Jarmusch. I will pepper in that what we do here is we kind of go on a rotation, and after each rotation between all of us, we switch between personal runs of recommending anything we want to, and then after that rotation, we go into a themed run. So right now, we're at the end of our personal recommendations, and we have the usual crew with us. I'm Nacula. We have Joe.
Hey, how's it going?
We have Will.
Hello.
And we have Jeff.
Oi.
And yes, just to touch back, this recommendation, 1995's Dead Man from Jim Jarmusch, was a kind of a just sort of a last minute recommendation because it just kind of came up on the HBO Max app, and it'd been a long time since I've seen it. I know I enjoy the movie, and and as we like to say, as it's been said around here, the worst thing a movie can be is boring and not promote discussion. And I think this film has plenty of discussion behind it. So, I guess I kind of already touched on the fact that this is just sort of a like I said, an impulsive recommendation. Johnny Depp is followed by a number of other recognizable people in this movie.
Stacked.
It follows. It is it's no Wes Anderson, but when it comes to stacked cast, but it follows a meek accountant on the run after murdering somebody, and I guess in general the movie is half us following the journey of this meek accountant man on the way to his death, and it's also half a love letter to William Blake, the English poet. But I think I've touched up on everything. I'd like to hear initial thoughts from Jeff.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think this movie was for me necessarily. I didn't really know where this movie was going. It just kind of felt very plotting to me. There was definitely a lot of bits I liked, and I liked a lot of the character work a lot. Like a lot in some of these scenes. But yeah, this movie just felt meandering in not the best way for me. It was kind of hard to hold my attention. And Johnny Depp didn't help. Really didn't care for Johnny Depp's acting in this movie specifically. I did like a lot of the other appearances though. I really liked the scene with Billy Bob Thornton and Iggy Pop and
oh my god.
Was it Jared Harris?
I think the more who were talked about as cannibals, it seemed.
The way that the movie's paced and edited, it feels like vignettes to me when I watch it. It doesn't feel like one cohesive whole. It just feels like chunks slapped together. Sure. That's not to say that I don't follow the central thread of the movie. It just doesn't feel like it flows. It feels very choppy. I do want to give, like, seriously though, some of the scenes in this are just absolutely buck wild. It like goes for like this weird black comedy at points that kind of feels off tilt, like that man just eating those fingers at that fire. I don't know how you could film that scene and not intend it to be comedic. Maybe I'm just
that man who is Lance Henrikson.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just couldn't remember the character's name.
Cole Wilson, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that scene is, I don't know, I fucking kind of loved that shit. Like, this movie is so fucking weird.
Yeah, it's just bananas. It starts really bananas too. That Crispin Glover scene at the beginning just kind of had me off kilter from the beginning of it.
I know.
It's almost like I wish it'd been weirder.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It just didn't.
It is on Wikipedia stated to be an acid western, which I had never heard of before. And then when like looking into that, I was like, oh, it's basically just a western that's specifically supposed to be kind of trippy and fucked up. So
And just like Jeff said, it does pepper in plenty of these like black comedy fucking just points to it.
mm-hmm.
But and you're right, like with that particular scene of Cole eating Michael Wincott's character, his name is escaping me. Where is he? Conway Twill. But it's also, but remember, it also touches back to the scene before. It's actually playing on the TV right now, where he's describing to the kid that Cole had fucked, killed, and eaten his parents. Because that scene plays out as a comedy skit quite a bit. By all means, continue, Jeff.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see him every time I see him.
Michael Wincott?
Yes. Every time I see that man, I'm just excited.
Yes. What else is he in?
The Crow. I know him from The Crow.
Or that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He was Guy of Gisborne in Robin Hood.
Oh, okay.
Oh, he's also Alien Resurrection.
I was going to say Alien Resurrection, yes.
I've never seen The Crow, so I wouldn't know.
I guess he was in Nope, too.
Yes. Yeah, he was in Nope. Correct.
He was good, though. I liked almost everybody's character in this movie.
Yeah, it's so weird. Like, there's so many things I like about it, but they just seem like pieces. Like, I like pieces of this movie, but I don't like the whole of this movie.
And that touches back on it. Like, a lot of these scenes are basically just visual representations of William Blake poems. So a lot of, you're not wrong. A lot of movie is not for everybody. Like, there was Roger Ebert said, I feel like Jim Jarmusch is trying to tell me something and I have no clue what it is.
I feel that in my bones, dude. I just did not. And I think that part of that, I've never been the biggest fan of Jim Jarmusch's style. I haven't seen a lot of his things, but what I have seen, I haven't really been able to cling to at all. The one that I think I like the most, I think is it Broken Flowers? The one with Bill Murray? We talked about this before.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. His style just doesn't really jive with me. I also am going to have the hottest take. I didn't really like the music, man.
No.
I didn't like the musical stings throughout this movie, and I'm sure.
Yeah, that's a hot point for me here, and that hurt is a dagger in the back. But
yeah,
I feel like I'm still restraining myself from jump right now. I'm holding back all my restraint from jumping on Discogs and buying the vinyl because I think this is because I've liked Neil Young from what I've heard from him, but I feel like this music is legendary under his belt. But no, I
don't like the way it's used in the movie. It's not so like if you took the music away from the movie, I like the music. I just didn't like the way it was used sometimes in the movie. It just felt shoehorned in a lot. Like it would, there would be a scene and it would just like show up out of nowhere. Dude, it's the only way I can think to describe it.
And like a few times it almost like comes in like half a second too late, and it's just like, what the like what? Who cut this together? Like, what's going on here?
Well, Neil Young did improvise some of the music as he was watching the movie.
Oh,
I think it works personally. I think it's pretty cool.
I love it. I wrote in my notes at the beginning of my notes, the music stings are off kilter, almost timed incorrectly, and weird. And then at the end, like near the end of the movie, I wrote, kind of loving the guitar riffs, actually.
Yeah, it's not varied enough, but it sounds cool. I like it. And
it ends up fitting pretty well, I feel, with the Western feel, even though it shouldn't. I don't know. It worked for me.
Joe?
Yeah, I'll go. Not a huge fan of Jim Jarmusch, but there's one thing about this movie that I just love, and I love this movie on paper. I mean, no one can get cool people to be in his movie like Jim Jarmusch. Like, I've seen Stranger Than Paradise, Broken Flowers, and Coffee and Cigarettes, and Jeff, I think you might like Coffee and Cigarettes. I've
seen bits of it.
Okay, it's literally a series of vignettes in a diner. People are generally talking about coffee and cigarettes and other things people would talk about in a diner. But that cast is just incredible. Like, it's got Jack and Meg White from the White Stripes, just randomly with a Tesla coil that's
Right.
shooting electricity. There's a scene with Bill Murray and Giza and RZA from
Yeah,
the
I've
Wu-Tang
seen that.
Clan.
That's one of the bits I saw.
There's one where Iggy Pop and Tom Waits are just talking about how coffee and cigarettes are like peanut butter and chocolate or peanut butter and jelly or whatever.
That right there is gold. That just
I mean, he gets the coolest people in his movies. Stranger Than Paradise, it's the drummer from Sonic Youth in it. No one
Okay.
can get like cooler actors and musicians in their movies like him.
I
Like,
didn't
if he-
realize he did Ghost Dog as well. That's a fucking great movie.
You know, one thing I will say about his casting decisions is when he casts these big name actors and puts them in these like very small roles, it gives an odd feel to it. Because like you like when you see a big name actor show up on like an actor that you very clearly recognize on screen, it takes a minute to like, at least for me, to like get in the space of the character they're playing, because I just see Billy Bob Thornton, I just see Jared Harris. But when you use them for such a short amount of time, I end up in like this weird in between. You know what I mean? Where like I'm not fully immersed in the scene just because I'm not really fully immersed in the characters.
No, I get that. That's definitely how I felt with like Crispin Glover's scene. Like I was like, holy shit, is that the fucking Thin Man? And then it's just weird, like which is right on because Crispin Glover is just a fucking.
Oh, they're
weirdo,
shooting
but-
buffalo.
the way that his voice sounds too is just like so jarring with like how you would imagine the Wild West, all that kind of shit. But
He's
I don't
like-
know.
he's like
It works.
oddly-
Doesn't it remind you of being in the boat?
yeah,
He's like oddly hostile.
yeah, yeah.
But that's the way the whole beginning of the movie plays out, is that when William Blake is wandering through town and everybody's just glaring at him, just glaring with hostility.
Yes,
And that's just something that I'll touch on later, but you're not wrong.
I just want to gush about the casting more. I didn't realize Steve Buscemi was in this. The lead singer from Butthole Surfers is in this. I'm pretty sure.
What?
Wait, where's
What?
Steve, where's
Buscemi
Steve
in it?
Buscemi? Yeah,
That's
where's
what
he
it
at?
says.
I
He
see
must have been
that,
a
but-
cameo, but
Oh, so
mean-
then that narrows it down. He's the bartender. He's the bartender that gives him
Yo.
comes in.
Are you talking about Gibby
the
Haynes?
bottle. No. Gibby
Okay.
Haynes is the man getting a blowjob in the alleyway and points a gun at William Blake.
Yeah.
I was going to say
Is-
that I was going to mention that since we were touching on the cast. I love the fact that he's just thrown in here as that guy. No, I think Steve Buscemi is the bartender where
I think
William
you're
Blake
right.
comes and asks for the bottle. He gives him a full bottle, and then he tries giving him the money, and he takes the bottle back, gives him a smaller
It's a
one.
little, yeah. No, you're right. I just googled it, and that's accurate.
Cool. All right.
I mean, this movie's got like actors who are, known for their indie roles, like Crispin Glover, Steve Buscemi, Billy Bob Thornton. At least in the '90s, they were. But then it's got like the old guard of Hollywood, John Hurt and Robert Mitchum.
Yeah.
John
Did you guys
Hurt's so good every time, dude.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Followed up with having a good cast, but yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if this movie is better from having like all these awesome people in it, but it's just amazing that he gets all these cool people in his movies.
It is better.
No one has a pull like him. I mean, you could say Wes Anderson does. But I mean-
guess,
Wes
yeah.
Anderson feels like he has a stable though.
He does. But I mean, he's getting he's just getting the coolest people alive. That's my point. Like if Jim Jarmusch, if you told me he made a movie with David Lynch and like Anthony Bourdain just smoking cigarettes and talking for 2 hours, and the soundtrack's by Portishead and Banksy is in it, I would believe that because he just has that kind of pull.
Yeah.
The other thing I want to say about the cast in this movie is that all of them even the big names seem to use their natural voices and accents in this fucking movie.
Yes.
John Hurt speaking British, Billy Bob Thornton sounds like himself, Iggy Pop sounds like himself. Like it doesn't sound like people. It's not like people are more using their own voices than playing a character, but they still fit as those characters. It's weird. It's fucking weird.
Yeah, that's
Anyway.
really where the movie shines, is when you're just seeing the play between these characters in these different scenarios.
Is that Alfred Molina's natural voice too? When he's in, I think so, right? Because he's
Think-
English.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. I don't know. It's weird too because that's kind of jarring too. But I don't know. It fucking works. I don't know. This movie worked for me, man. I liked it. Oops, spoiler.
It's weird. I don't know. Like I do think some of the like the hitmen and the cowboys, they're interesting characters. But the story doesn't hook me. Like it's clearly about like a nebbish, bookish guy, Johnny Depp's character, who becomes a killer, but it doesn't really show his evolution in a way that makes sense to me.
It's almost like just a snap. Like he's the one guy, and then like literally the next scene, he's suddenly just like a cold-hearted murderer and like a badass.
Maybe this movie is enhanced by knowing more about William Blake and his poetry, but we've touched on that.
I feel like the transition is kind of there, not in it, not that it makes it any easier for any of you guys, but I mean he goes I guess I'll touch up on it now. The one way I view this movie in relation to another story is Dante's Inferno. Hear me out. Like he experiences the death of a woman who showed him compassion at the beginning of a movie, and then also murder somebody in the process. He goes through a number of I feel like some of the change in scenery is indicating like a change in the different rings of hell that he's traveling through. Crispin Glover's character, the fireman in the train, mentions that he hints at this as being hell. What brings you to this corner of hell? There's a lot of things that really make me feel like this is a rendition of Dante's Inferno, but it's not. That's just me. That's just kind of me making.
I don't know
together that could be there, but
I kind of agree.
I still feel.
I kind of agree.
Still fucking feel it in this movie so much that it's Dante's Inferno.
I'm kind of there with you too. Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, or like anything in that like Heart of Darkness would probably plug in there somewhere. Just that descent.
Whatever that, that's like a well-known movie and TV trope. That whole whatever the fuck that's called.
It's established pretty early that he's dead.
Wait,
Anyway.
wait, what?
Yeah,
like Johnny Depp's character is dead early on.
Yeah, I wish they'd have a title that.
I love the movie's Exquisite Corpse, right?
Wait, are you guys serious or? Fuck, I can't tell. Wait, are you guys serious? Is he dead?
I don't think so. I think it's referring to the fact that he's wanted and also that the bullet is going to kill him eventually.
Right, because like later on when he's by the dough or the fawn, like he touches it and it's all like that nasty pus, and it's like, oh yeah, this dude's gonna fucking.
Well, that's like
it's still very much a journey up to his death. I mean, nobody. I mean, I can't. It's hard to believe we haven't touched on nobody being here yet, but he fails to get the bullet out of his chest, so he's just slowly, just agonizingly going through these motions in his journey.
Because it's like lead poisoning, right? That'll just kill you dead.
Well, he's just got metal lodged right next to his heart.
I mean, Iron Man lived through it, so. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, Joe, were you? Did you pretty much give your initial thoughts here?
Yep, we can go on to Will.
Cool.
Yeah, no, I actually really like this movie. Surprise to nobody, I fucking love almost every movie. I thought this movie was so weird, and when it first started, I definitely was like, I don't know, I was like, I don't know about this movie. Everything's kind of off kilter, like I wrote in my notes, and just fucking weird. But then as the cast just kept, growing and growing with like just bangers, like boom, like here's fucking, Crispin Glover, boom, here's this guy, here's that. Like it was just like, okay, I'm starting to like this literally just for the cast, kind of like Joe was saying. I didn't find it too meandering, but I definitely thought that it took like a bit longer to get the things than it should. But I think a lot of that was kind of like the camera angles, like the camera shots that they were doing. He just, whatever his name is, Jim Jarmusch, like, yeah, maybe he was trying to be a little artsy with like some of the cameras shots and stuff. And I did like some of them. There was like a few just shots through the forest as they're like there's and like the first person on the back of the horse. I don't know. I kind of like that shot actually. There's like some interesting shots that serve no purpose other than to just be like kind of filler, but they kind of worked for me too.
Jarmusch does that, and that's whether that lends to making his films better or worse for the viewer to absorb. He definitely has some like shots in a lot of his movies that are can either go one way or the other. Like there's no gray area. You either like or you hate the shots that are happening in his movies sometimes.
Okay.
Anyway.
No, that makes sense. At times the movie felt kind of like cheaply made is the best way I can describe it, especially like the title and credit scene. Like the way that and I get it, maybe that was just a product of the time. It was 1995. Their graphics weren't going to be like super good or anything, but especially when like the title like falls apart like bones or whatever the fuck he was doing there, I was like, okay.
It was a budget of $9 million that earned barely over $1 million.
And that's not a huge budget even back then, right? Like that's
95. I guess I don't know.
Maybe it is actually. That's pretty big. But I bet a lot of that went to the cast, right? Because
no, well, not a lot of what just went to the cast, but in terms of set production to make it feel like a period piece, like it's like you're in the late 1800s.
Yeah,
I really do like the props and the set production in this movie, but it also. Never. I don't know where I was going with that. Go ahead.
No. I mean, I'm right there with you. I thought that for the most part, the set and like the costume design and everything was pretty fucking good. It definitely. I didn't at any point really get pulled out of like, oh yeah, this is like the Wild West. Besides some of the accents and stuff that like the people had, but at the same time, that kind of just like worked for me too. Like I was kind of okay with it.
And also reading in the wiki, I feel like plenty of the budget went towards making sure it had a Native American presence, like Gary Farmer being nobody, pretty much seeing that any indigenous person in this movie was portrayed by an indigenous person. Like
that's awesome.
That's what I feel. I don't think just watching the movie, I don't feel like there are any characters that aren't played by Native American people.
I mean, we wouldn't know, but if they were, that's awesome. Like I hope so, you know.
Yeah, seeing the village that nobody eventually brings William Blake to, where he before he puts him in the burial canoe and sets him onto a sea burial like that. The set production and a lot of that felt great, and I wonder how much of I'm even just barely curious how much of the budget went towards making sure that felt authentic as hell.
Right. It doesn't really say on the wiki page. Usually there's like a production tab, and we don't have
we don't
here,
really get a lot of that. And whether one thing I do remember reading about it is that he intentionally left a lot of dialogue between the indigenous people untranslated as like in jokes for actual indigenous people to pick up on. I liked that. I really liked how he played that out.
Yeah,
reading
really
up
cool.
I feel like after reading the wiki on this, I had a much bigger appreciation for what Jarmusch did with the film. Trying to throw in things that it's like Jarmusch is making art just for the sake of art, and that whether that's feels like a generalized, like generic, pull out of my pocket kind of statement. Like he has a vision and he sets out to fucking do it, and he doesn't care what people think, or he doesn't care about the reception of it.
Yeah, and for the most part, I think he gets there for sure. Like this movie, I don't know, I liked it for sure. I got plenty of fucking notes, 2.5 pages, but as far as initial thoughts go, yeah, I'm in, baby.
Sweet.
What do you got, Nick?
Like there's plenty I could touch up on with this fucking movie. It's even though it's not well received by everybody, like we already mentioned, that I love coming back to this movie. I really do. It with the music, you can simply call it a Western, but it is definitely an off the wall acid Western, because it doesn't, you don't always feel grounded in much of it. It is putting together a lot of these scenes that like I said, pepper in visualizations of William Blake's poetry and things like that. And it's not an easy movie to swallow. But I love coming back to this movie every time I see it somehow. There's still a lot of Jarmusch's films that are on my watch list that I want to see. Singles is something that, because I'm a Chris Cornell fan, and Singles feels like a love letter to Chris Cornell. I have not seen Singles, but it has Matt Dillon pretty much and a group of sort of Seattle themed fucking musicians just kind of being there. That's anyway. I won't go into that too much, but
that sounds awesome.
I just love coming back to this movie. I really do. Yeah, and it's certainly not it's certainly not one of Johnny Depp's best pieces, but I feel like he just kind of follows. He probably follows whatever Jim Jarmusch wants him to get out of it. If anything, Johnny Depp is great at just at pulling out a role the way the director intended wanted it portrayed. That's one thing that Johnny Depp always gets right. I like I said, I like coming back to the movie. There's a lot I like about it. The soundtrack, and I'm actually kind of glad, even though this was I'm kind of glad I went with this movie rather than a David Lynch movie, even though I will eventually get to that. That will be one of my personal recs. But like there's a lot I can love about this movie, regardless of it not being for everybody. It's
sure.
The cast that he pulls together, and I've gushed about the movie quite a bit. I feel like there's still a couple things. What were part of the white birch trees? Yeah, there like people touched on, there were shots that felt like they were filler, and when there are moments where the character William Blake is just sort of looks off into the woods, and I almost want to feel like that's filler, where we're just seeing this white birch, and that also helped lend to making it feel like a Dante's Inferno movie, because they're traveling west. We start a lot of the earlier scenes of Nobody and William traveling through the west started with a bunch of white birch, and then we eventually get to a lot of these tall, like redwood style woods. And
Yes.
I'd love to know exactly where a lot of it was shot, even though I might have missed. I didn't go through the whole credits and see where a lot of this was shot, because it's beautiful. A
couple of those shots in the redwood forest, yeah, I was like, okay, this is like really good camera work here. It just looks beautiful.
It has a great sense of place.
Yeah,
totally.
Just throwing this in here, I'm reading here on the wiki under Jim Jarmusch, for the Dead Man section, it says it has been hailed as one of the few films made by a Caucasian that presents an authentic Native American culture and character, and Jarmusch stands by it as such. So that's pretty awesome, actually. So maybe most of, if not all of, the Native Americans are portrayed by Native Americans. That's kind of what that makes that sound like.
Yeah.
Just to go back to what we were saying earlier, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it probably is my favorite Jarmusch film that I've seen so far, even though there's a lot of his flicks that I haven't gotten to yet. This is what, like I said, this is one I'll continue to come back to.
I would not hate watching.
Not that I will come and I can, if somebody puts on this movie, I can't help but appreciate that that this movie is playing at that moment.
Yeah,
I can't really put it down. If somebody's gonna throw this on, I'll say fuck yes. I will.
Yeah, I could definitely watch this again. I really liked it.
And I'm still even all the praise that I give it, I'm still very accepting of the flack that people will give it, and that's fine. Like it's not for everybody. Fucking Roger Ebert gave it like 1.5 stars out of 4 or 5. I can't remember what
I think they do 4.
They did 4 stars, didn't they? Yes. It doesn't. It's not universally received as a great film, but I still love coming back to it.
It's entertaining. Like I was entertained most of the time, and that to me makes a good movie right there. It doesn't matter if it actually is good or not, But
it was filmed all over the place, really. Washington, Oregon, Arizona.
Okay,
nice.
Google says Nevada, but IMDb doesn't say Nevada anywhere. But
That's got to be a fair amount of the.
That could be one of the train scenes. There's a lot of different scenes we get as
yeah.
he's on his way to the city of Machine that I feel like definitely the flat plains felt like a Nevada shot totally, and going through the transitions of different. It felt like a good train scene, like him kind of going, whether he's coming from Cleveland and traveling east, and then him and nobody end up traveling back west by horse and taking that journey towards which ends up at one of his tribe's villages. Like I can't discredit Jarmusch for, like I said, setting up a vision and delivering on it. Like that's what I love. That's kind of what I like about this film, is that he's trying to blend a lot of things that don't always go well together, and that's probably why it doesn't work for everybody, but he still doesn't care about, again, he doesn't give a fuck about the reception of the movie. He's gonna he's gonna make art for the sake of being an artist. Well, I guess I don't. Let's see if I have anything else to pepper in. Okay, yeah, I touched on the Dante's Inferno thing. I guess all the other things that lent to it being a Dante's Inferno rendition was also the moment, the scene with Alfred Molina's priest character. It felt like William Blake's character confronting his difficulty with God and Christianity. That's what that scene kind of felt like to me, is that it touched on God and Christianity right where it needed to.
And then obviously nobody is sort of his guide.
Virgil, yeah, he's absolutely a Virgil character to me, 100%. Thank you for bringing that back. Like, that's not in my notes, but absolutely, he is his spiritual guide through the journey to his death, and so that also lends to the whole Dante's Inferno take that I have on it. But I can't help but adore Nobody as a character. Like,
it's great.
He steals his glasses. He fucks with them the whole time. He just speaks nonsense throughout the entire film. I haven't understood a single word you've said, not one single word. And I can't help but laugh at things like this. It blends the acid Western, and peppers in the comedy right where it needs it to me.
And then he asks him, right after he says that to him, then he just asks him, "Do you have any tobacco?"
He constantly gets asked for tobacco, and he doesn't smoke, but he's still, I have some tobacco. And oh man,
is that like a running joke throughout the movie or something? Because he's literally asked like 30.
Everybody asked him for fucking tobacco, and he's
funny.
I don't smoke, therefore I don't have tobacco on me. Just
they're all a bunch of fucking cig heads, like really addicted to tobacco. I love it.
Does anybody have any favorite lines?
Oh, big time, buddy. Are you kidding me? Stupid fucking white man, of course.
I meant to introduce the character as a stupid fuck. You take a journey with a stupid fucking white man, and I failed. I dropped that fucking ball. But anyway, yeah.
The whole quote where, what's his name? Conway Twills telling Johnny the Kid about Cole Wilson, like, fucked his parents. Like, that whole scene is fucking great.
Both of them?
Yeah. He fucked his parents. Like,
Yeah.
he fucked.
I love Michael Wincott's voice. If one thing that helps that guy, be it like whether I love his fucking voice, the way he delivers his lines in The Crow. His voice is a standout to me. I could probably pick his voice out of a crowd.
He's pure gold in this movie, and if he's good in The Crow, that makes me want to watch that movie even more, even though I have a million reasons to watch it, of course. Yeah, well, that's on the list.
Yeah,
just wait
me away.
Just wait for my rec today, buddy. Oh boy. I've got a few more, but if you guys got a couple, go ahead and throw them in, and then I'll try and hit on them if you didn't, for quotes.
I mean, again, I will gush because I love the movie so much. It's the scene where shortly after, I believe I'm actually on that scene right now, where he kills the two marshals, and they say, "Are you William Blake?" "Yes, I am. Have you heard of my poetry?" Blam.
Yeah.
I love it.
Badass.
I love that scene so fucking much, because that is the transitional scene to me. That's because right following where he gets his glasses taken away, and nobody's like, maybe you'll see better without these fucking things. And then one of the next scenes is him just dead aim fucking taking out that marshal, who in turn fucking triggers killing his other buddy marshal.
Yeah.
And then Summerboard, the Endless
by the
Light,
way-
he executes the other marshal as he's on his last breath. And like I'm watching it right now and seeing the first marshal who he shoots landing right in the pile of right in the fire pit, looking like a religious icon.
Yeah, it's
There's
like a Rube Goldberg machine, dude. Like half the action scenes in this movie or more are just like Rube Goldberg-esque. It's fucking crazy. I got this guy, he like falls onto a fucking thing that shoots another guy. Like, what the fuck? And I kind of is that like typical Jim Jarmusch like weirdness? Like, I don't know, I've never seen any of his other movies, but like
yeah, a lot of his
he
movies seem
uniquely
to keep the same like quirky, weird tone. Like
yeah.
there's all these puzzle pieces that don't fit together, but he's still like shoehorning them together to make a fucking picture. And that's almost the best way I can describe it. Is just like he throws 13 different jigsaw puzzles in one big pile and makes a fucking masterpiece out of it. That's kind of what I'm getting out of it. But
yeah. No, I can definitely get behind that. I just like the marshals have like a great fucking quote too, because the one guy's like, "You asshole, if you got the damn telegram on, you pull it out." That's just good stuff, man. I really like when Billy Bob is like, "I don't give a good goddamn." That's a great fucking quote.
Dude, that back and forth about those beans had me fucking dying.
And about his like hair,
the
like
best beans.
how's your hair so soft? Got this fucking, it's like barn straw or whatever. Like, were they gonna not to hate saying the R word, but were they gonna fucking rape him? Like, what the fuck was going on there?
I have no idea, honestly.
Yeah, that was like
I assume they were going to kill him and eat him.
Even though Cole Wilson seems to be the primary cannibal of the movie, they were all up in his bubble, just like talking about his hair and how well he's dressed and fucking
keep your hands off him. He's mine.
God, that trio is just I can't. Yeah, that's a comic trio between Iggy Pop, fucking Jared Harris, and Billy Bob Thornton. I love coming to that scene every time I see the movie.
3 fucking fantastic actors too. Well, Iggy Pop, but I mean he's not a
Iggy
bad
Pop.
actor.
I would Iggy, like Jim Jarmusch seems to love having Iggy Pop in his films. He was in Dead Don't Dance. He's in 200. He's in Coffee and Cigarettes. The Dead Don't Die. Dead Don't Dance. One of my I'm thinking of the Dance with the Dead, the synthwave band. Anyway, I'm trailing off. I'm so glad. Like, even the negative shit. Like, granted, I felt like kicked in the balls with Jeff not liking the soundtrack, but that's just me. That's me gushing about fucking.
I just had nothing but hate for this movie. I don't know what it was, man. I just something didn't click with me, and I just stumbled and never stopped stumbling my way through the movie.
You're a stupid fucking white man.
Here's a quote I've found. William Blake says, "If the doors of perception were cleansed, everything would appear to man as it is, infinite." Now, William Blake, Johnny Depp's character, says he doesn't know the poetry of William Blake, but that's got to be a real William Blake quote.
Yeah.
Because Aldous Huxley stole that line or borrowed it for a book called The Doors of Perception, and that's where the band The Doors gets their name from.
Yeah. Very cool. It seems like the more internal themes and things that Jim Jarmusch was trying to get with this movie, the more you pick up on those things, the better you can appreciate it. But that's not universal method. It doesn't work for everybody.
I like I said, I like this movie a lot. And I kind of watched it disjointedly too. Like, I watched it like half an hour the first night, and like another 45 minutes the second night, and then like straight up was watching it while like driving back here to like finish it off. And I don't know if that helped because the movie's already so disjointed that like that was just leading, like, lending into that. But I don't know. I really like this movie. Obviously, we've covered like the cast is stellar, and every single time they get introduced, I mean, like John Hurt alone, like the second that I fucking saw him on screen, I was like, oh yeah, I love this movie now. And we only get to see him for like a minute or two, and he's fucking great though. He's so good.
Yeah, we see Gabriel Byrne for all of like 2 minutes. He gets shot. Like,
Yeah. And Gabriel Byrne's great too. He's very handsome at that point too. Like I thought he was fucking quite handsome at that age. Lance Henrikson looks like such a fucking badass. He makes me think of like the Man in Black, like classic Westerner style.
right.
And then the fact that he ends up being a parent fucking cannibal, that taints that image a little bit. But,
It kind of solidifies him as a fucking piece of shit.
yes, but he still looked pretty badass until he was like eating the hand, and then I was just like, oh. Speaking of, by the way, when he fucking like squishes the dude's head, I was like, Jesus fucking Christ. Did not see that coming.
That's one thing that takes me out because that body's only been there for like 3 hours.
Yeah,
And he
like,
just fucking squashes it like a grape.
I know, and it looks so fake, but like for some, whenever there's like, I mean, it's practically done, so whenever I see somebody's like head or fucking balls or something getting squashed like that, I don't know, that shit fucks me up. I fucking love / hate, and this definitely lends into like Jeff hating this movie. I can understand why when they do like
Hate is a strong word.
disliking the cool skull fade on Depp's face. Like, what the fuck was that?
It just felt out of place, man. That was the problem.
It almost was cringy. I was just like, ugh. But then he's like a badass like a scene later, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of into it. This dude's like a fucking cold-hearted killer now. I'm cool with this.
I mean, it was a cheaply delivered special effect to enhance nobody's peyote experience. He was seeing a dead man. That's
okay. I didn't put that
seeing-
together that he was
seeing
doing
a
the
dead man. Yeah,
peyote.
that was a
Yeah.
peyote.
No, that's kind of cool too. Like I like that kind of shit, right? Because then it makes it more spiritual. I don't know, which kind of lends to the movie. I think it makes it a little more otherworldly. The fact that they actually like paid off on the dude being a cannibal and like eating the fucking arm, like I love that scene so much. Like I was like, holy shit, this movie fucking rules. I don't know. That's mostly what I had. Alfred fucking Molina too. Like the second that he popped on screen, I was just like hard. I was just like, yes, fucking love Alfred Molina. Anytime I see that man, he fucking kills it. He's so compelling.
In some beads or maybe a blanket.
Yeah, dude, he's so compelling. Like whenever you fucking see him, I mean, fuck, man, he makes those Spider-Man movies, in my opinion. Like, or at least like Doc Ock in the second one? Like, Jesus, that movie's good because of him alone. I mean, those movies are pretty good, but he's just so good.
We didn't really mention it, but this is the last appearance of Robert Mitchum.
I was gonna say, is this his last appearance? Yeah.
And he's from what, Night of the Hunter, I think?
Yeah,
we watched before.
That's what we
amongst
watched
many
before.
other things, I'm sure.
Yeah, right. That's cool that this is like his last movie.
I didn't even recognize him.
No, it's really hard to tell. But he plays a great role. He's like the leader of or like the CEO or whatever.
He's Dickinson.
Yeah, he's Dickinson.
Dickinson.
Who is great. I love how the camera like pans like as Johnny Depp's looking around the room, and then it pans back and dude's just there with a gun. Like that's like some weird kind of cheesy humor kind of shit, but I don't know. I liked it. I don't know, man. This movie fucking did it for me, especially on cast alone. Like the cast is just killer. That's mostly all that I have though. I do like the way that it ends too. How it's just like they just shoot each other and Depp just kind of floats away and it just sort of ends.
It's kind of perfect.
It's kind of a perfect ending. Yeah.
I did like the ending.
Holy shit, he loves this movie.
Listen, man. I'm not saying I hate the movie at all.
Oh, we changed his mind. You heard it here
No,
first.
I'm just saying I didn't vibe with it.
Yeah, there's plenty of things to pick apart, and you can either like it or dislike it. And there's, like I said, I appreciate any of the feedback that this gets.
I think we need the Jeff cut of this movie where he just cuts out all the shit he hated, and it's like 20 minutes of all the good scenes.
I can say that I would watch this movie again.
Ooh.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's enough here for me to want to like revisit it and take another peek at it. So like I don't know if how I feel about it now is going to change if I do watch it again. Like I said, it could just be a product of the time.
Maybe you can find a commentary cut that doesn't include Neil Young's god awful soundtrack.
I'm telling you, man. There's so many things in this movie that I usually would like in a movie like this, and I just like watched this movie and just didn't really care about it.
I feel like I was the same way on the first watch of this, though. You know, he just brings in the guitar twang at the weirdest time.
The pacing.
Wild. Yeah,
the pacing of this movie is just wild, man. It just like it drags in weird ways and not in ways that are compelling or engaging. It feels like it's wasting time sometimes. It just kind of does, you know.
For the soundtrack, for the most part,
is.
it's the is it leitmotif? It's the melody. It's the common recurring melody that really keeps me going. And there's like it adds a feeling to me.
It feels sometimes the way that it's splashed into a scene like somebody got kicked awake after they were supposed to play it. Like they were supposed to play it half a second ago, and then somebody kicked them awake, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And then just.
Dude, I'm telling you, like half the time they're like super off timing, like a good half second to a second later than they should have been. And I wonder if this movie had just been like the sound effects had been, the twangs and everything had been edited in better, if that would have just immediately made the movie better for you. I don't know, but they just feel fucking weird half the time.
Like I said, I'm sure I'll take another peek at this. Like that'll probably happen. We'll see what happens.
One other thing that I did want to mention that I was looking in my notes and saw is that first scene of wherever the fuck he goes, like the first city or town or whatever, and when we kind of see like the set and there's like a smokestack or something, you can see that the smoke coming out of the stack is like so shittily done, like it's like CGI or fucking animated or something, and it's so bad. That right,
lined, it just looks like a cardboard cutout mount, like smokestack with.
Dude,
like, what if these a couple smoke bombs strapped to it?
The way that these things stand out in the movie, what if it's intentional? Like, what if he's doing that specifically to change the vibe of the movie? Is what I'm saying.
Could be.
Like, some of it feels intentional.
He's a fucking weirdo, independent dude, right? Like, he's fucking doing it to fuck with. He was like, someday there's gonna be some guy who watches this. I'm gonna call him Jeff, and he's gonna hate like a bunch of this weird shit. But that's what I'm doing.
Are we
maybe not hate, sorry. Dislike.
I still wanted to mention Mili Avital was gorgeous. Like she spent a really small screen time in this fucking film, and I'd actually kind of like to see her in something else. But she's gorgeous. She's fucking standout fucking love it.
You have seen something with her, bro. Stargate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, bro. She plays like the main chick in Stargate, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
it's been a long time since I've actually
she's the lead.
Sat down for that movie.
That's a movie we should watch on here. That makes some good combo, I think. That movie's like pretty good, but also probably doesn't hold up very well.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's all I had. I'm rolling with 8 out of 10. It's deducted for mostly for what the reception is that it's a number, it's a lot of different puzzle pieces trying to be forced together, and that doesn't always make it cohesive with Jarmusch films. It's a flat 8 out of 10 because I will acknowledge and understand that it's not a perfectly developed movie especially if you don't know what you're supposed to be looking for. But anybody else?
Yeah, we got next. I can go next.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I give this like a 5 out of 10.
Right on.
Yeah, but that I will tack on that is subject to change. I do think this movie is worth a rewatch, especially after hearing what you guys feel about this movie. I think I should give it another rewatch.
Oh,
I was just gonna say, as of right now, I didn't enjoy it enough. You know what I mean?
Well, in 200 episodes, when we have run out of movies to watch and ideas, and we just start rewatching old ones, then we'll come back to it, buddy. Yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, this movie's super weird. It's esoteric. You gotta do a bit of reading. You gotta do your homework to understand it. But I just really love. I just love the cast. Just the fact that he can pull all these people together and stuff. For that, I'd give it a 6 out of 10.
Oh yeah,
Cool.
Yeah. The story didn't exactly hook me. I'm not a big Western guy. This obviously isn't a conventional Western. But I just want a little more meat to my stories.
So if the cast was bad, what would you have given it?
Very low, probably.
Not to put you on the spot,
Like a
but
3 or
Well,
4.
if the if the cast was like bad in terms of nobodies or bad acting.
nobody's good acting, but like not
yeah,
not a bunch of people you straight up love.
But also good actors.
Yeah. Like if the acting was still good, but it was just like nobody knows any of these people and they've never been anything else again.
Not that low, probably like 4 or 5. I don't know.
Okay.
Hard to judge. And I also want to say
that's
that
fair.
like giving a movie a number doesn't really mean all that much. Like you have to discuss it qualitatively and say what you really think to.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I honestly, even just after talking about this movie, I fucking loved it. I loved a bunch of the scenes and obviously, like we talked about, the cast was great. I kind of dug on the music by the end. Like it kind of got there for me, and I'm gonna give it like a 6.5 or a 7. Like it doesn't get that super high of a rating from me, but I still liked the movie a lot. Like I would say I loved it, just for the weirdness and a fair amount of the scenes like really did it for me. And I don't know, it was good. Like I said earlier, it's entertaining. Yeah,
right on.
We'll go with the 6.5. That's what I'll go with.
Well, I'm glad we could all just put this one down.
It's a great wreck.
Yeah, still
Great
solid
wreck.
Good, and touching back on what was mentioned, a lot of the gems. You know, numbers and tier lists don't mean shit these days. I fucking hate tier lists. I hate, seeing ratings isn't. It's not a solid anything. That's really where the gems and where things like cast like this shine is just discussing and just promoting our perspective.
I think I'm going to give our discussion of this a 10 out of 10.
5 stars.
5 guys with movies and fries.
Well, good. Yeah. That's a wrap for that. Will, we're doing a fantasy run here. So what's our first fantasy selection?
4 fantasy movies in a row from 4 boys. I have never seen this movie, and I think it's gonna blow your minds a little bit, especially Jeff. But we're doing The Never-Ending Story.
Baller.
Hell. Very cool.
Solid lead.
So I can't wait to watch this movie. It's been hyped to no end for me. So